Just over a year ago, we reviewed and tested the Kiwibit Beco. Well, now Kiwibit reached out and they sent me the new Kiwibit Smart Bird Feeder 2. So let's get this unboxed, let's get it set up, and let's get it tested out. So we're gonna get this thing opened here. All right, so got all our stuff here. All right, so we have the roof with a solar panel on here, which I absolutely love. Trying to use a solar panel that's separate is just kind of like not convenient, so putting it on the roof, I love this. They were one of the first ones to do it on their original feeder, and I noticed that a lot of the other companies are also doing it, and so that is great having the solar panel on the roof. All right, so we have the perch. I love this. It's nice and big, allows multiple birds up here. So we have the main feeder part here. One of the really nice things that I love about the Beco is the fact that it has two separate slots, meaning that you can put two different types of seed in here. This is nice if you want to put something like black oil sunflower seeds, sunflower hearts, safflower seed, but it just makes it nice to where you can put two different types of seed here that you can control independently with these little levers on the back, and we're gonna go into that a little bit later, but having the dual feed type and being able to offer multiple different seeds. So this is the actual mounting plate. So the feeder is going to sit on this, and this is going to go where we're going to mount it. We're gonna go over some of the mounting options, but this is perfect for what we're going to use it for. So here is another mounting plate. Now this is made specifically for a pole, and we're actually going to be using a pole, so I'm going to see if this will actually work for the pole that I'm using. But this is basically another mounting bracket where the feeder will sit right here, and if you're using a pole like we are, it should in theory be able to fit right on if we're using the right size pole. The last box in here has another mounting option. So this is the strap to go around a tree. I would not recommend this specifically just because of squirrels. When you do strap it to a tree, it does not allow you to stop squirrels from coming up. So I don't usually recommend this just because of squirrels, nothing else. And lastly, they have the last few pieces to go to the rest of the mounting brackets. And we're gonna go over this when we mount the camera. So that is all the parts of the feeder. Let's put this thing together and then let's get it connected to our Wi-Fi and go through downloading the app and go through that whole process, and then we're going to go ahead and get it mounted. One of the first things that you'll want to do is you'll want to peel off all the film and all this piece of plastic. So this new Kiwibit Smart Bird Feeder 2, it actually comes with a removable battery. So what this means is that you can use the solar panel, you can let it charge up, and you can actually get an additional battery for this. So for whatever reason, if you have cloudy days and it's not able to use the solar panel to where it can actually refresh and recharge, this is going to allow you to be able to separately charge a separate battery. So that way you never have to worry about not having your feeder active. You'll always be able to have a separate battery if you purchase the separate battery. This is nice just to have something else. Normally they have an internal battery that you can't do anything with, so it's nice to have that option in this feeder. Make sure that you remove the plastic from the battery, and then you'll place it back into the feeder. All right, that's all set back in. I accidentally turned it on there, but we're gonna finish peeling off this last piece of plastic on the front of the camera. So next we're going to put the roof on top of the feeder, and this thing is just going to snap right in place here. Roof is on like that, and then the feeder plug is going to just plug right into the back here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach this perch here, and it's going to fit right on the bottom, just like this. And then there is some screws here with a little hex screwdriver. And so we're gonna go ahead and put the screws right on the back of this. Blue jays are ready for the feeder to go up. All right, so we're just going to finish tightening these screws on the bottom here and get this perch attached. Perch is attached. Feeder is now all put together. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get this thing turned on, and we're going to get connected to our Wi-Fi. Before we get this connected, let's go ahead and we're going to download the Kiwibit app on our phone. If you have an Android, you're going to go to the Google Play Store, and if you have an Apple, you're going to go to the Apple Play Store, and you're going to download the Kiwibit app, and this is going to be able to where we're going to connect this smart feeder to our phone. So once once you have the app downloaded, if you don't have an account, you're going to go ahead and create a new account here. You will need an email address, and once you have an email address and you verify your email, you'll be able to add an account. Now, because we have already had a Kiwibit Bico previously, I did already have the app and I already had an account with them, so I'm going to go ahead and log into my account, and we're going to add this second feeder. All right, so now we're at the home page here, and as you can see, I don't currently have the old Bico, the original smart bird feeder hooked up currently, and that's why it says that the camera is offline. So what we're going to do, we're going to the top corner here, and we're going to hit the plus button, and we're going to add a device. We're going to tell it to allow this to connect to the device here, and we're going to use our Bluetooth to connect to it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my Bluetooth. So now that we have the Bluetooth on, it's ready to add the device. So I'm going to go ahead and on the back, there's two little slots here that you can go over. On the left one, behind it is the power button. So we're going to go ahead and turn the device on. And there it is, it just turned on, and it immediately found it on the app here. So we're going to head and click the Bico here, and next it's going to connect to our Wi-Fi. So we're going to put in all of our Wi-Fi information here. We're going to find the Wi-Fi that we're looking for. We're going to type in our password, and we're going to connect to the feeder. All right, so now the app was able to find the feeder, so we're now all connected. So the next thing that you're going to be able to do is set a location and name. And this is specifically just for your reference. If you have multiple smart bird feeders in your yard, this is a great way to be able to name them and know exactly which one it is. In this case, we're not going to worry about other ones. We're just going to name this Kiwibit Bico 2. And we're actually putting this in our front yard, so again, it doesn't really matter which option you choose for location. I'm going to go ahead and choose garden, and then we're going to hit next. Perfect. So now the device is added and we're able to connect to our feeder. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to test your Wi-Fi signal. So depending on where you're at, it's going to let you know if you need to come closer to your Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi hub. The next option it's going to ask you is how you're going to mount the bird feeder. So for me, I'm going to use the pole, and so I'm going to choose the pole here. The next option is pole mount installation. This is talking about the solar panel. Because the solar panel's on the roof, we're not going to do it independently. And this is basically telling us how to attach the brackets here. So we're going to attach the brackets to the underside of the feeder. Now, I actually already checked to make sure, and the pole mounting bracket actually works for the pole that I'm using. So that's great for me. I don't have to do anything special. I'm just going to use the pole mount and put it directly on the pole. So now that everything is connected, you can see the camera here. As I move it around, you can see that I am talking to it here. Everything is connected and we're all set, and we're now ready to mount the camera. So like I said, I'm going to be mounting this on a pole. So I'm going to be using the pole mounting bracket here. Luckily, like I said, the pole is the right size. Typically 1 inch is very typical for most bird feeding poles. So I think that is what I'm looking at here. So again, the great news is this will fit directly on the pole that I'm looking for. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this to the feeder here, and this does require putting some screws on the bottom here just to connect the mounting plate. And then once the mounting plate is on, we'll be able to put it directly on the pole here. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the mounting plate to the bottom of the feeder, and that is where the little extra screws come in that we used earlier. So we're going to go ahead and attach this here. All right, so all the screws are on. Use our little hex Allen wrench here, and we're going to go ahead and tighten all of the screws up. All right, so these are all tightened now. The mounting plate is on the bottom of the feeder here. One last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug in the USB-C solar panel. So now everything is working. The solar panel is plugged in. I do really like the cord that they included on this. It has this little spring on the back side of it. A lot of times these cords get caught up and they're just kind of like in the way. I really like the fact how they did this and everything. Lastly, what we're going to do, we're going to mount this on the pole, but we're also going to fill it. There is a little button press on the back here, and it allows you to pop the top open, and this is where you're able to take your seed right here out, and you can fill your dual seed compartments here. Like I was saying earlier, it does have these little things that you can pull out, and this actually stops the seed, so you can actually fill this up, bring this back over to your feeder, pop it down in, and then you can just release the seed, and that way you can fill this thing independently and you don't have to bring it right next to the bird feeder. So we have the mounting bracket on the bottom of the feeder here, and we have our feeder pole. So basically all we're going to do is we're going to twist this a little bit, and I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit. I think this is actually just a little bit too high. All right, so the mounting bracket is on the bottom of the feeder here, and all we need to do is slide it right here on this pole, and then we're going to twist this on here to where it's not going to go anywhere. And now we have our feeder up, we have it ready to go. The only thing that we need left to do is we need to fill this with some feed and get some birds. So we're gonna get this feeder filled up. Now, I did wanna just quickly go over this dual feed type system. Now, the great thing about this is, like I was saying before, it independently has two different slots or silos that you can fill with seed. So if you're looking to have two different types of seed at a feeder, which is fantastic because you can obviously get different birds by offering different seed, this allows you to offer the two different types of seed. Now, here is the cool part about this. This has, if you can see here, it has little levers on the bottom side of this. And these are basically so you can fill this and you can carry this to your feeder. And then when you open this, the seed will come down. So this is just a really great way to add multiple seeds to your feeder and a great way to control how much seed comes out. So you can actually like turn this to where there's not a lot of seed that comes out, so you're not wasting your seed. Now, I am actually not going to do two different types of seed in here. I'm just going to stick to one seed for right now. So we're going to get this filled up and attach it back to the feeder. So now we have it all filled up. Let's go put it on the feeder. Let's get some birds. So we have our filled feeder here. The green goes on the back side here, and just this slides right down, and the top just pops on there. And now last thing, like I said, I had these little feeder ports closed, and you can actually see here, I'm gonna pull it out, and there that goes. The seed just falls right down in. So this is a way to control how much seed comes down, or if you don't want seed to come down on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this other one here, and now the seed is up, and we're ready to get some birds. So we're going to leave this up. We're going to get some shots of some birds here, and then we're going to go back over everything. We're going to talk a little bit about the app. So let's see what we can attract and go from there. Now, one last thing that you might have noticed, that I don't have a squirrel baffle on here. And you would be correct in thinking that I'm not going to leave this without a squirrel baffle. Now, I didn't have it in time for the video, but I'm gonna get this up there and get it on. I will always highly recommend to have a squirrel baffle on here, just to make sure that you're attracting birds and not flying rats. All right, so now that we have our feeder up, filled, and we're waiting for some birds, let's talk about the app. So if we go into our Kiwibit app and we bring up the home page, this is going to be the main spot of the app that when you're going in, you're going to be able to see. As you can see on this home page, I have the camera. Typically what it does is it leaves a video or a screen capture of a bird that it has seen most recently. So that's why you can see this house finch on here. And basically from here, we can do a couple different things. So if you look in the top right here with the plus sign, if you're going to add another Kiwibit smart bird feeder to your app, this is where you're going to go. You can add a device, like if I was setting up another device, or you can add a shared device. And this is another device that someone shares with you that you can actually see their feeder, or you have access to their feeder. It's a nice little way that they use to where you can look at someone else's bird feeder, but they have all the access. It gives you enough access to where you can view their camera, but not enough to where you can change any settings. So if you were to add another bird feeder, this is where you would go to add it. Now, right next to it, you can see the bell, and this is basically giving you a way for like a no activity, or if you were going to sleep, do not disturb. So you can turn this on and basically you will get no motion detection for 30 minutes, 2 hours, or 12 hours. And this is just a way for you to kind of turn it off. And that way, if you don't want to see what birds are visiting, you can just shut that off. Now, if you look up at the top left where it says all devices, if for some reason you had devices in different locations, you can actually change those here. That way you're only viewing those particular feeders or those particular cameras. All right, so now back to the home page here. If you look at this, if we press the play button, we can instantly go to a live feed of our feeder. So once this comes up, this is a live feed of our feeder right now. So currently there are no birds at the bird feeder, but that just lets you know that you can click in here and you can view the live view of your feeder here. Now, one of the other things that you can do, and we can get into this once we get into the feed, you'll notice here at the bottom right, there is a settings feature, and this actually takes you to the device settings directly from the outside camera here. At this point, we're going to go into the camera, and I'm going to show you some of the settings that you can do from within the camera. So at the top right, again, we go into the same device settings here. Now, there are a ton of different device settings that you can have for your smart camera, depending on what you want out of it. So if you look at the top left here, we have motion detection. This just means that if a bird comes to your feeder, it is going to start recording or have a motion detection recording of that bird. So you can turn that on and off if you don't want it to start recording when a bird flies up. I do, and I think most people do want to have that. They want to know when there's a bird at their feeder. Typically, I'll get the notification and I will switch to the live feed so I can see what birds are there. But within this motion detection, there's several different options. So once we say that we do want motion detection, we can detect our preferences or what we're looking for. So number one, I think you should always have the bird checked, and this is just to let you know that a bird came to your feeder. Nuisance animals, this is where if you want it to go off when a squirrel shows up to your feeder, this is where you want that. And if a squirrel shows up, it's going to notice that it is a nuisance animal and it is a squirrel, and it is going to alert you that it's a nuisance animal. And going on down, you can choose the sensitivity. And this just means how sensitive it is when a bird flies up. I have mine set to medium, but if you're having times where it's getting too many or it's not enough, you might want to change it high or low depending on what your outcome is. Next, we have the recording setting. And so this is basically when the bird flies up, I have it set right now currently, the interval time. So if a bird flies up and 10 seconds go in between and more motion happens, it's going to capture another motion detection. Now I also have it set up to where it records up to a minute, and you can have it up to 3 minutes or as low as 10 seconds. So what this means is when a bird flies up, it motion detects it and it starts recording the camera. I have it set up to where I want a minute of footage. Now, this might mean that the bird flies away and it will stop recording, or it might mean that it might stay and be there longer for a minute and it will also stop recording. But either way, if I'm not there to go to the live feed, I want to know that it's going to record a good bit of information or a good bit of video, and so that's why I put up to a minute. Now, if we go back down here, there are also sleep schedules. So this is where you can turn it off. It will not record, it will not have an alarm, and it will not notify you that there's a bird. Now, I'm not going to have that on, but it is an option if you do want to set it up and not have any motion detection or notifications. You can also schedule it. So if you want it to where when you go to bed at night and it does not give this to you, you can set up your schedule, and that way you don't have to worry about getting notifications or seeing that birds are showing up. Some of the next settings here in the top right are your notification settings. And this is going to be the notifications that you get or receive when a bird comes to your bird feeder. So I do always recommend that you do check having motion detection notifications, and this just lets you know that a bird is at your bird feeder. And then you can go down and you can classify, will recognize. So obviously we were talking about earlier, you'll want bird species on there, and you want it to notify you of all species. You can also have it notify you about the nuisance animals or squirrels, and then you can also have it notify you when those nuisance animals appear. You can also set up custom alert zones. So you can say if a bird shows up in this corner of the camera, not to record. If it shows up in this corner, to record. So there are several options within the notifications and what you get notified when a bird comes to your feeder. Now moving on, there's also alarm settings, and this is where the animal alarm will go off. So if you have a nuisance species such as a squirrel comes to your feeder, it can automatically send the alarm to the bird feeder, an alarm will go off, and hopefully the squirrel will jump off your feeder. The next one is going to be video settings, and this is going to be kind of the bread and butter of the quality of the video that it's taking. So I'm always going to recommend the recording quality to be 4K. This is just because it's the highest quality. Now I will tell you that if you are struggling with Wi-Fi service or you don't have great Wi-Fi service for this, I would recommend to step it down to the standard definition, and that's just because it's going to handle your Wi-Fi better and it's going to have a better picture. But if you have a fast Wi-Fi or if you have good Wi-Fi, I'm always going to recommend changing it to the 4K just to get the best image quality out of the smart bird feeder. Next is a watermark, and you can choose to put the logo of Kiwibit on there, or you can also have the timestamp on there. Unfortunately, Kiwibit, I do turn the logo off, but I do keep the timestamp on there. And that is nice that if you ever go back and you look at the footage, it'll tell you exactly what time it was. For some people that might not mean anything, but for other people who are trying to figure out time of year, when first of season species are showing up, that timestamp is really nice to know exactly when that bird showed up. Next, going down, anti-flicker. I always put this on for all of my cameras and smart bird feeders. It's just kind of a frequency issue that happens within cameras. I always recommend to check on the anti-flicker and have it at 60 Hertz. You can also change it to a 12-hour format or military time. I just leave mine at the regular 24-hour format. You can also set it up for auto night vision, and this just means that at night when there's no light out, the feeder will turn to basically like an infrared or a night version of the camera, just so you can see in the dark. Now I will tell you, obviously birds are not going to visit your feeder at night. However, I have had some fun nighttime visitors. I wouldn't consider a bear a fun one, but I've definitely had some nighttime visitors that I was able to catch on my camera because it had the night setting on. And then going back to the settings, there are a few different things like an indicator light. You can also go into the cloud service. There are different services available within the app that you can use. I currently am signed up for the Kiwibit Plus unlimited devices. As you'll see, that is ending soon, but I am going to sign back up for their services. There's also, if you choose to put a SD card in your camera, which I do not currently have, you can see the SD card management. It will tell you if there's a card in there, and then power settings. So this is where initially we set it up. If you have the solar panel, this particular feeder, like I said, has the solar panel directly on the roof, so you don't have to worry about that. This is just where you can change it if you wanted to change it to a plug-in or battery only. It basically changes the camera to do the notification settings a little bit differently based on the battery setting or power setting that you have. And then finally, down at the bottom in the shared section, this is where you can share your smart bird feeder. So if you want someone else to be able to at least look in the live view of your smart bird feeder, they can always look in at it, but they can't change any settings. This is where you would go to share that with someone else. And then finally at the bottom, if my video didn't do good enough, you can actually go through and it'll go through the installation guide again, going through all the different steps, all the mounting, best way to put it, best practices. So check that out if I didn't do a good enough job. All right, so let's go back again to the beginning of our app. So we were in the home location and we were specifically dealing with the video settings within the camera. So now let's look at some of the options at the bottom here. So the next option is birds. Now this is where Kiwibit kind of sets themselves apart from other companies. Kiwibit uses what's called key shot photos. And what these are is when a new species comes to your feeder, it's going to identify that species. They do have over 10,000 species that they will identify. And when it first comes to your feeder, it's going to use that shot of that new bird to show you all the different birds. As you can see, a bird was detected currently as I'm filming this video. So that's kind of how the notifications come in. They'll come right in at the top. But going back to the bird species, this is going to tell you all the different bird species that the feeder has identified. And like I said, it identifies up to 10,000 different species, and it does a fairly decent job. Now, I will tell you that all of the AI identification for all smart bird feeders does have some issues in identification. And that is nothing so much from the feeder standpoint, but it is AI is still in the process. Identifying birds is not something that's easy, so it will still identify or misidentify a bird, especially if it's turned to the side or if it can't see everything within the shot. Like I said, on the main page of the birds, this is where you're going to go in and you're going to find the different species that have visited your feeder. Now, at the very top, you can see this red-winged blackbird just visited my feeder 50 minutes ago. And I've never had a red-winged blackbird between the two Kiwibit smart bird feeders that I've had ever came to my feeder. So because it just came today, it is also telling me that it is a new feeder or a new bird species. And this is basically where you're going to go. So if you want to go and you want to look northern cardinal, where have I found a northern cardinal? Now you will see on mine that because I have quite a bit of species, I've used this for a year, I do have quite a bit of species on here, so I am going down the list. And here we go, we found this. So northern cardinal, this was the first cardinal from the first feeder. So this is the key shot image that it uses here. Now you can also see that it was last seen 3 hours ago. So what that means is that this was the original shot on my original feeder over a year ago, but it's telling me that it was last seen 3 hours ago. So it's going to update in the system the last time that that species has visited your feeder, which is a very cool thing. So if I look here, American goldfinch has been seen within the last 2 hours, a Carolina chickadee within the last 2 hours, a tufted titmouse within the last 39 minutes. So this is a great way to look to see what kind of species have shown up to your feeders, what birds are frequently in your feeders, and how often they come to them. So this is a really good spot to come in here and look. Now I will just briefly show you a misidentification here. So if you look, there's a couple of them here. Look right here, we're going to click on the Stellar's Jay. Now this says that 5/29/25, I had a Stellar's Jay at my feeder, and I know that that is not correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click these three dots right here, and I'm going to mark cover photo as misidentified. And that's going to remove it from my list. So if you go up here, it now says 28 species. So what I recommend, always check the species and always see if it is the correct identification. If it's not, go ahead and tell the system that it's not the correct species. This is going to help it grow and learn species better, because it's not an easy thing to be able to take a shot and identify a species. So when you do have a misidentified species, make sure to tell it, hey, this is not the correct species, and then it will go back in the system, and this will cause the AI to get even stronger and better and start identifying birds even better. All right, so the next option at the bottom is activity. And this is going to give you a layout of everything that has visited your feeder from the last time that something has shown up. So this is where, if you're not currently trying to figure out specific species and just what birds are visiting your feeder, this is a great place to go. The cool thing about this is that it gives you an entire calendar. So you can go back to days, hey, what visited my feeder last week? You can go back to your calendar and you can find what species were there. So as you can see right now, I have 79 birds, 7 different species. I have 70 events, 279 videos. So you can basically go down the list here and you can look at the different birds, and these are when it started recording. You can kind of click on each one of these and it'll show you the motion detection video that it took. So here is a blue jay. It came up to the feeder, it started eating, motion detection, started recording on the feeder, and this is what I'm looking at. Now, if you have your notification goes off and you see that there's a bird visiting your feeder, I always recommend to go to the live feed. This is where you can record or you can take a photo of your feeder from here. One last thing, if you look here at the top, it'll also tell you the different species. So you can see that house finches have shown up 34 times, a blue jay 19 times, and tufted titmouse 8. And this is from today only, so this just gives you an idea of how and what birds are frequently in your feeders. Finally, the last option at the bottom is your account. And this is where you can kind of go through and you can change different things on your account. So you can go in, you can change your username, you can change your email, and you can change your password, or, which I wouldn't recommend, delete your account. For the bird identification and the notification systems, this is where you're going to go into the My Service. This is going to tell you the different plans that they have. And it's also going to give you an idea of what comes with each plan. So I am currently on the premium plan and I'm going to continue on the premium plan. Now, you don't need to have a premium plan to be able to use the device, but I'm going to go over some of the things that you will and will not have by signing up for one of their plans. So as far as the rolling history, being able to go back on the calendar and say what happened last week, you will not have access with that if you do not sign up for their premium plan. Motion recording, you can do up to 3 minutes on the premium plan. You can only have stagnant shots or pictures if you have no plan. You do get event alerts across, but once you start moving into the no plan versus premium, the premium plan does include intelligent alerts, custom alert zones. This is where you can determine where you have an alert at, zero recording gap, bird detection, species identification, the bird collection, and the bird wiki. And these are little things that you can learn about each bird species, trying to find what species you have in your yard and how to best attract them. So these are just to give you an idea, some of the things that the premium plan offers versus not the premium plan. Now, again, I do want to say that you don't need the premium plan to be able to use the service, but there are a lot of benefits to being able to sign up for the premium plan and being able to go back and check the bird species and have the bird species identified for you. Now, going back into the account, we have device management, and this is where you can go to all the different devices that you have by Kiwibit. Adding a shared device, again, this is where you're adding a device. If someone gives you access to their smart bird feeder, this is where you're going to go to add that feeder. You can also change the language of the app, and then you can also change the location of the feeder. So if you want to add different places, so your garden, backyard, it's just basically for you to determine exactly where that camera is and a set location. And that way, if someone else is looking at the cameras, they know exactly where that camera is positioned. Another cool option that Kiwibit gives you is to link with your Alexa. Now, I am a huge smart home user. However, for this particular thing, I really don't connect it to my Alexa, and that's because I don't necessarily want to watch it on one of my Alexa devices. I just want to watch it on my phone. But having the option to turn it on your Alexa device is awesome, and I love this. You can basically tell it to show the smart bird feeder, and it'll pop right up on your device. Now, lastly, at the very end of the account stuff, you can request help. Kiwibit has great customer service, so if you have any issues at all with your feeder, you can definitely reach out to them. It also has some FAQs, so it answers some common questions that people have about their smart bird feeder. And then finally, you can learn a little bit about Kiwibit. Now, one of the last things that I wanted to talk about that I didn't earlier, when we were on the main camera, let's bring up the live feed again here. And once this pops up, one of the last things that I did not show you is this is where you're actually going to be able to record video and photo from. So when you pull up the live feed of your camera, here we go, great, we have a house finch. So I'm going to press this button and it just took a shot. I'm going to take another one. So the button on the left is going to take photos here. And then if I hit the camera, it's going to start recording, and it's going to record until it's either filled up, it dies, or I hit stop on this feed. So I'm going to continue recording here for a few seconds, but just to give you an idea, I did just stop it, but this is where you're going to be able to see everything on here. Now, there are a couple other options that I did not mention. This little skier is going to turn it so you can see it now horizontal instead of vertical. I'm going to click X and get out of that there. There's also this one in the top right, and what this is it zooms in a little bit, and I really kind of like this just to where you can see. You can also use your finger and pinch in that way, but just to kind of give you an idea of where it'll zoom in and out just a little bit on the footage. You can also listen to the audio. So I just turned this on so I can hear audio. You can also, record so you can actually talk to the birds. I'm not going to talk to them, but if you wanted to talk to someone out in the yard, you can actually talk to them right here. And then finally at the bottom, you can do a history, and this just shows you kind of what has shown up. You can turn the alarm on, and let's see if I can turn this on here real quick. It doesn't matter, you're not gonna be able to hear it, but basically there's a little, an alarm that goes off that will typically scare birds or squirrels or any nuisance species. So I always tell people to only use that if you have a squirrel on there. And then finally, you can put the camera to sleep. So that is really kind of all the options that you have. There is a lot of stuff to go over in the app. It's kind of the sky's the limit. You can really use this thing depending on what you're looking for. If it's your only smart bird feeder and it's kind of like your main one, you can set it up in different ways. Basically, you can set it up however you would like it, but there is a lot of stuff in the app, and I always recommend that people go in the app, play around a little bit, see what different settings, and see what's best for you. So now we've set up our feeder, we've set up our app the best way that we can, and we have birds arriving at our feeder. So there's only one thing left to do, and that's review this feeder. So I've had this feeder for a few weeks now, and I'm extremely pleased with the Kiwibit Smart Bird Feeder 2. So what are some of the things that I truly love about this smart bird feeder? Well, number one, I love the area of view. They have 130 degrees of angle of view, and basically what this means is that the camera is wide enough to where it takes a very wide angle shot of your smart bird feeder. Now, I've had a lot of different smart bird feeders, and if for some reason the camera is a little bit closer in, a lot of times it cuts off the bird and you just cannot see the bird very well because they're obviously getting very close to the feeder. And that's what I love about the Kiwibits is the field of view is a little bit wider, and therefore it catches the bird and it catches the angle better to where you can see the bird a lot better. The second thing that I love about the Kiwibit Bico, and that includes the first one, is the dual seed system. This allows you to have two different seeds in your smart bird feeder and having two different seeds that come down. I also like the fact that you can control how much seed comes out. So the little levers that allow seed down, I love the fact that you can close these or even push them down just a little bit so you can control the amount of seed that comes out of it. And then finally, one of the last things, and I made a mention of this when I was going over the unboxing, but having the little spring cord on the back, and this is actually meant for squirrels and not allowing them to chew through it. But I just like the way that the cord comes down. It plugs in very easily to the back of the feeder. Some of them are longer, some of them are too short. I just like the fact that it has a little spring on there and the plug is very easy to plug into the back of the feeder. So if you are in the market for a new smart bird feeder, I would highly recommend to check out Kiwibit, the Bico 1, Bico 2, any of the Kiwibit smart bird feeders. You're definitely gonna have a great time with. I also want to thank Kiwibit for reaching out to me and sending me this feeder to review. I greatly appreciate it. They were one of the first companies that ever reached out to me once I started doing my bird videos. So again, I want to thank them. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this review video. If you like what I have to say and you'd like to see more videos like that, be sure to leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. And if you get a chance, get out and get birding.